Let's put in our adjustable elastic first. I'm just demonstrating that here with a non-adjustable elastic because I couldn't get it for life or money, and it is a little bit wide. You really need to get that very slim, just under 1 inch wide elastic. You can fold it in and stitch it down once it's thread through your buttonhole, or alternatively you could just zigzag it on to make it a little flatter. So go over to the other side and do the same. And again, you could just zigzag that in. I'll show that on the sewing machine in a minute. And I'm now just going to secure my elastic. It's not holding in the back an awful lot. This is just a comfort elastic, really. And we can then pull that out as much as we want. And you can see here that that is a little bit slimmer than what I'm using. Anyway, that's what it's going to look like when it's done. And now we're going to pop over to the sewing machine and sew this in. Just on the edge, locking in your stitches. And then I do the same on the other side. It's very important that the elastic does not reach all the way into the waistband. It did that on mine here nearly because my buttonhole was longer than it needed to be for adjustable elastic, just simply because I couldn't get it. And it was very difficult to top stitch the top edge without catching it, which is why I want to make this very, very clear. You absolutely need to have that slimmer adjustable elastic for this. And then you just wrap your seam allowance over like that, turn it in and pin it all the way along. And we're going to just stitch all the way around the waistband, which is why it's so important that it's not all the way to the edge up there, which you can see mine is. If mine had been lower, this wouldn't have been hard. Of course, you can omit the top stitching, the top edge, but I think it looks really nice. I love it because it makes it look really structural. So pin this in all the way over. And what will happen when we sew this in, because we're not holding in an awful lot, you can just move the elastication on and use stitching on the straight edge. You need to pull it anyway a little bit, but it's okay. Right, turn in your seam allowance over the seam allowance of the waistband here as well, and tuck it in really neatly and pin it in. And the edge here should just sit where you have the stitching line, where you attached your skirt to your waistband. So not over it, just on it, because when you're top stitching it, that'll be a little bit higher as well, and you don't want it to look homemade on the inside either. See, and now I can just move it along. See, it actually isn't as hard if your elastic has the right width, does not reach all the way to the top edge like mine does. Oh, Marina. You can also use the secondary method, which is using regular elastic, which I show in the next little video clip, and then you can see which one you want to do. I would watch the other clip as well and then say, okay, I'll do it like this or like that. Now all we have to do is sew along all the way, and I'm going to start anywhere, just not the front. Okay, you don't want to start at the front, you want to start somewhere towards the back, so your stitch reversal is not visible. And now I've just moved my gathers out of the way, and I'm just stretching it too. You can also take the pins out from underneath it as you get to them, of course not before, otherwise it'll pull out underneath it. And sew across. It's actually such a nice method, and I'm a little bit gutted that I couldn't get a hold of the correct elastic when I was filming this. Maybe we'll do another video with the correct width elastic so I can show you that actually this works quite well when it is. I'm gonna turn it, and then we'll just come down the other end, and this is where this gets a little bit difficult if your elastic really reaches in there. So what I had to do is, while I was going, I had to move down my elastic and make sure that the top was standing that little bit over the edge where my top stitching was going to go, so I wouldn't catch the elastic. Otherwise it's not an adjustable elastic at all, is it? So yeah, so I didn't find this terribly easy. You can see the elastic sits right in the edge there, and that is what you actually don't want. Well, due to the fact that it was too wide. There we go. Now I go all the way down. Super. Turn it again. And it is ever so much harder because an electronic machine will only go a full stitch length, and I really find that quite annoying, I have to tell you. I love the electronic machine, but that makes it for me a no-no for very accurate work, and I prefer the mechanical for that reason. There we go. Lock in your stitches, cut off all your threads, and voila. So if you're sending this skirt to grandkids that live far away, I think this is a really great method, because all you need to do now is to put a button on, and then mum can adjust the elastic if it needs to be a little bit tighter. And if you are sending it to your grandkids far, far away, it's a very good idea to also check that your elastic has the right length. If you think this method was a little bit difficult for you, then please move on to the regular waistband. Let's go and have a look at that, and I'll see you there.